I'm
All right.
at next. I'm not in a
How are
beach
you?
environment.
Yeah. How
Huh?
are you?
Huh? I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, good. So,
Happy to note that we have more participants than a normal class. Uh, yeah, so that's very good. Okay, guys, I think uh, uh, this might be the kind of way forward. We don't know how things are, so I think we proactively got into Zoom meetings or Zoom classrooms. If this is going to continue, then we will buy a better version of this so that there are more functionalities. Right now, what we have is somewhat basic. But I think, as you can expect in MBA, this is the new world order, and we need to get used to uh, this. Okay. Somebody's saying can't hear me. Okay. Can hear me now? Okay. Can't hear you. Okay. Can you hear me now?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Super. What we can do is we'll go through some of the slides, and you're in the comfort of your homes today. And so we'll go through the slides and then open for a discussion and question and answers. So it's going to be 1.5 hours, as you know. You went through the first session. But let's see how we can do this and how we can work on it. And I think I have some good news at the beginning. Some real good news. That is, we don't have to. We don't have to submit the first part of the assignment week, right? So we don't have to submit it. So I'm sure you guys are happy about it.
Very,
No,
very
we
happy.
are not.
So we will.
You're in the beach, I see.
Yes. So we will ask you to submit both together, right? Now, what was the second day that we were supposed to submit? That is in. Let's see.
Should be May, right?
That's in May, right?
Yeah, it's May.
Yeah. So both will have to be now. Both sections to be submitted in May.
Can we share the first one with you to check whether it's correct
Yes,
or not? Yeah.
can, but I feel that some of you really need some support here, and I think starting from the company, what I will do is I will redo the instruction sheet and share with you so that we can approach this assignment better, because we need to uh, we need to first select the company. Number two, we need to make sure that we get the right leader and also the change initiative. So I'll make it more clearer to you and send you the instructions later. Yep. We were supposed to have a drink this week, but we could not do that.
Yes.
So we'll do it on a later date. And yeah, there is a round of beer that is already being offered. So we'll take that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you as we. Okay. Now this is where we started, and these are the 10 sessions that we are planning to do. And then we started with a introduction, and then we looked at the strategic, tactical, and operational leadership pyramid. Strategic, tactical, and operational. And then we looked at concept of power. We looked at French and Raven's 5 forms of power. And here we looked at emotional intelligence and also leadership. And we looked at 6 leadership styles here. And then last week we looked at leadership theory. This is mainly Tenenbaum and Smith leadership continuum, and also we looked at transformational and transactional leadership. Right, so we looked at these 2 last week. So right now we have covered some leadership styles, 6 here and 7 here, and also we have covered 2 more, and each of these 2 had 4 each leadership styles. So now you have lots of different styles that you can talk about, work with as you write your assessment. Okay. So today we are going to cover adapting leadership style. So this is the main word today. How do you adapt? Now you know these leadership styles, right? You know 5 forms of power. You know the 6 types of leadership styles that we discussed with emotional intelligence. Then Tenenbaum and Smith leadership continuum, and also transactional and transformation leadership. Now, what we concluded is nothing is bad, but when do you use it? When do you adopt it? So that's what we are going to discuss today. Okay, so we will discuss today. Okay, then let me share the screen again. Okay. All right. So today we are looking at adapting leadership styles. And we're looking at this famous one called this Hershey Blanchard grid. So that's what we are looking at today. And also we are looking at a little bit on the motivation side, but mainly we are looking at Hersey-Blanchard grid. Before we get into Hersey-Blanchard grid, there is Blake Mountain grid that talks about two continuums. One is concern for people. Other one is concern for the task. In other words, this is more task oriented and this is more people oriented. And concern for people very low here and concern for people is very high here. Concern for task is very low here. Concern for task is very high here. Now, Blake Mountain came with 4, right? First is impoverished, means low on both. That means concern for task and concern for people both are less. I don't think there are many companies here, because at least some of the companies are, although concern for people is less, they might be here, right? Now here is a company where there is low people focus, but getting the task done and making sure that the task is completed. But modern organizations, they want to be here where there is task orientation and also people orientation. You care for people, but you want to get your job done as well. If you look at this country club, actually country club means, a good example is Colombo Golf Club, SSC. These are membership clubs where the key focus is not the task so much, but looking after the members, right? So that's why we call it a country club, where the key focus is maintaining the concern for people and the members, not so much about the task or making profits. They make profits only to make sure that the club prosper and survive, but not to report a big profit. Okay, so here let's see whether we can play this video. Now I'm going to play this video and see whether you can see it and hear it both.
In its simplest terms, leadership is an attempt to influence someone, a group, an organization. I'm attempting leadership. There is no all-purpose magic solution in being a leader. There is no golden fleece. The only way you impact the performance of other people is through your behavior. Effective leadership depends upon what behavior I'm using in a particular situation. You need to match your leader behaviors to the performance needs of the individual or group. It isn't how do I behave with that person, it's how do I behave with that person in reference to that person doing a specific activity. Assess the person's performance readiness to do that specific task. Not that people have an overall performance readiness. It isn't different strokes for different folks. It's different strokes for the same folks, depending upon what it is you're trying to get done and what their performance readiness is. I'm sure we've all known some people who were quite willing to run with the ball, but didn't have what it takes. Other people with all the ability in the world, but hey, baby, don't saddle me with that. You've got to assess them both, ability and willingness. That's why coaching and mentoring is so important. People aren't just going to grow on their own. It's up to you and I to help them grow. Okay, well, this is a very simple model. It's called situational leadership. And what it provides an organization is a common language that you can solve performance problems at any level in the organization. It changes the culture. It gives you an opportunity to win.
Okay, I'm going to play the video again. And before that, I'm going to again talk about this a little bit. Now, in our previous classes, we learned 5 forms of power. How do you use power in a organizational setting? Now, we learned about 5 forms of power from French and Raven. And what we discussed is nothing is bad, but when do you use these 5 forms of power? Don't stick to one and become labeled saying you reprimand everyone for every time, for everything. Whole idea is how do you start using these 5 forms of power at different situations. Now, the second is we learn 6 leadership styles, which was put forward by Daniel Goleman. 6 leadership styles: visionary, pace setting, right? All of that. Again, the discussion was don't stick to one type of leadership style. How do you move across these 6 leadership styles? So that's what we discussed in class. How do you change your style with the situation? Then last week we discussed Tenenbaum and Smith leadership continuum. On one side, boss-centered leadership. On the other side, employee-centered leadership. Now, again, how do you work through this continuum rather than sticking to one place? How do you work through this continuum, right? So that's what we discussed. Then with that, we discussed transactional leadership, again, 4 leadership styles, and then transformational leadership, again, 4 leadership styles. So the whole idea is how do you move within these? How do you move across these? And how do you select different leadership styles and aspects for different situations? Now, the situations are, it's not I'm using one leadership style with one person and a different leadership style with another person. That's possible. But we are saying even with how do you change certain ways of leading that person. Now, in this video, what we are trying to get is a very important concept called performance readiness, right? Performance readiness. That means what is the level of performance readiness of a person with regard to a particular task and a particular time. Now, this video starts by saying leadership is all about influence. How can you influence? And the second thing is, how can you change your influence at different times and different periods to suit the particular situation? So that means this video is talking about leadership equals influence and how this influence can be changed at different situations. So the way to assess is look at performance readiness. And performance readiness, they are saying it's 2 things: ability and skill or capability, right? I'm so happy, I'm so motivated to do something, but I don't have the skills. Or I have the skills, but I'm not motivated. or I don't have the skill or the motivation, or I have both. So these are the possible situations. So watch this video again, and we can have a small discussion.
In its simplest terms, leadership is an attempt to influence. So anytime I attempt to influence someone, a group, an organization, I'm attempting leadership. There is no all-purpose magic solution in being a leader. There is no golden fleece. The only way you impact the performance of other people is through your behavior. Effective leadership depends upon what behavior I'm using in a particular situation. You need to match your leader behaviors to the performance needs of the individual or group. It isn't how do I behave with that person, it's how do I behave with that person in reference to that person doing a specific activity. Assess the person's performance readiness to do that specific task. Not that people have an overall performance readiness. It isn't different strokes for different folks. It's different strokes for the same folks, depending upon what it is you're trying to get done and what their performance readiness is. I'm sure we've all known some people who were quite willing to run with the ball but didn't have what it takes. Other people with all the ability in the world, but hey, baby, don't saddle me with that. You've got to assess them both, ability and willingness. That's why coaching and mentoring is so important. People aren't just going to grow on their own. It's up to you and I to help them grow. Okay, well, this is a very simple model. It's called situational leadership. And what it provides an organization is a common language that you can solve performance problems at any level in the organization. It changes the culture. It gives you an opportunity to win.
Okay, so if you, this is basically Paul Hersey and Kenneth Blanchard, highly respected guys in this area. So this Hersey Blanchard grid that we are going to talk about has two ways of looking at it. One is directive behavior, other one is supportive behavior. So some say this is little similar to Blake and Mountain grid because there is more task and person here. But let's look at it. Directive behavior and supportive behavior. That is what we are looking at in this grid. And then we are looking at the competence, the skill levels of the followers and the commitment level of the followers. This is what we mean by will, and this is what we mean by skill, right? So that's what we are looking at, combining these two, whether we should have task-oriented behavior or concern or support-oriented behavior. Now here, task behavior or directive behavior is right? Basically telling people this stuff. Basically telling them, this is how I want it done. Uh, don't question the process, but this is how I want it done. But support or concern behavior is about listening to people, right? And provide support and encouragement, but not telling them what to do. So it's the key word here is more uh, facilitating, right? Facilitating. Get them involved, right? And support and encourage them to do it in a certain way. Now let's look at this. Here we have directive behavior. One side is highly directive. That means you tell them exactly what to do, and directive behavior is low here. Supportive behavior is high here, and support behavior is again low here. Actually, some of you might think that this supportive behavior low is bad. Actually, it's not bad, right? We will look at it. Now, look at this. We'll start with S1. S1 is called directing behavior, right? Directing behavior for people with low competence and high commitment. That means skill level is low, but they're highly committed, right? They're highly committed. Now, say for example, a management trainee joins a company. High commitment, very enthusiastic, but don't know how to do it. So what you do is, okay, directing behavior, telling them exactly one, two, three, four, this is what you need to do, right? We are not getting them to discuss a lot of problems, to get their opinion, because their competence is low. So you need to tell them what to do, right? Then let's move to S2, coaching, right? Highly directive and highly supportive. Now, this is where you coach people, right? Both directive and supportive behavior is high because uh, both their competence level and commitment is at a mid level, right? At a mid level. Now, take the example of the management trainee that joined the company, very, very energetic and enthusiastic, but after some time, you're a little disappointed. So the high commitment has become little bit less now because things are not working as planned, and I'm really disappointed it's not working out. But my low competence has become somewhat medium, and my competency skill level has grown. Now this is the time where you need some coaching behavior to tell people don't give up, will support you. Here there was no support here. Now there is some level of support. Then you go to S3, high support, low directive behavior. Now can you see competence has grown? Now skill levels have grown, right? But commitment is a problem. So then you have more supporting behavior. You don't tell what to do because they know what to do. You want to support them, get their buying in, get their views and opinions about the decision, and you only give support. Can you see here now? The directive behavior has become less now, and now it's more supporting behavior. Then comes S4. Now look at S4. Low supportive and low directive. What does that mean? You don't tell them what to do, or you don't need to support. These are your real stars, right? These are your real stars, and they are highly motivated people and highly competent people, and they can work on their own. Very, very less support or very less directive is needed for them. Only at a certain point you need to support them a little bit, low level of support, low level of direction. They can really work for you. You don't have to worry about them. So these four boxes are slightly different to the uh, other models that we have learned, because low is generally bad, but in this one S4, low is very good, right? Low is very good because our behavior, this is leaders' behavior, right? This behavior is leaders, and this is a leader's behavior. So our behavior can be very low support, low directive for good people. And for different situations, we'll have to adopt a highly directive, low supportive behavior. And in this case, you need both, telling them what to do and also support and coach them. And when they come here, their competency is good, and we need to just support them mentally and get their commitment high. Here, both commitment and uh, competence is very good. So therefore, you don't have to worry too much. Any questions? Any questions?
Just if you can explain S3, how can you like support in real life context? A couple of examples, that will be great.
S3.
Yeah.
Okay. In the case of S3, might be a person who has the right skill levels, but the motivation is quite less, right? Say for example, one of your well-experienced managers in the company uh, has the right skills, has the right experience, but little demotivated, saying that you're bringing outsiders to the company and they're paying higher salaries to new recruits. Little demotivated. New people get all the training going abroad. I don't get any training, but I have real skills and competence to do the job. Now, you should identify, okay, this person, his skill levels are very good, but things are not happening well because his commitment is little. You don't put him into more technical training, right? You don't put him to more technical training, but you start having certain chats with him and identifying, okay, what's bothering him. He has a bit of a motivation problem, right? His commitment is kind of varying. This is the time you get him to train the new people and say, you know, you have lots of experience here, and you put him on a pedestal, give him some recognition, tell him we value your skills. Can you train all the newcomers? And can you lead this process? Then his commitment increases, his motivation increases, and say, okay, I'm valued in this company. And then he becomes from S3 to S4. So that's an example of a situation where a person can be in S3. But your question is good, and I want you to think the same person can be in S1, S2, S3, or S4 depending on the situation. Say, for example, I tell a person to work on a new product development. And this person at that time, he has the competence to do it, and also he's highly excited about the prospects of a new product. So that person is operating now in S4. Now this manager, after 2 to 3 weeks, you tell him, you know what? Uh, some of your own team members are not performing well. You need to get rid of them, right? You need to get rid of them. And then you assess, okay, does he have the competence to manage people out, poor performers out? Does he have the commitment to do it? Then suddenly you find, okay, this person who was in S4, now he's in S2. Why? He says, I'm bad at having difficult conversations. So I don't have the right competence to do it. And I feel very bad to send my people home. My motivation levels are very low. I can't get rid of people. Now you need to realize, okay, now this person, the same person 2 weeks ago who was S4 on an NPD program, he's in S2 for restructuring initiative, right? Now my behavior towards him should be a coaching behavior rather than a delegating behavior. So that's the idea in this model. And then what type of approaches you select, leadership approaches you select here versus what you would have selected in this situation. Yeah.
Can't hear you, Dustin.
Okay, can you hear now? So can you see now?
Yes.
Yes.
On coaching, Dusty, is it more provoking thinking and asking questions for the provoking of thinking, or is it more giving directions? How does that differ from directing and coaching?
Yes, I think that's a good question. The uh, here it's your behavior uh, is not a behavior of supporting, but completely uh, directing. Tell them what to do, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because you know that they are very enthusiastic, very energized, and they have the will to do, but they don't have the skill to do. So you need to tell them step by step. In this case, in S2, right? Level, but not at optimum level. The opposite of S2 is S4, right? Opposite of these are the two opposites, right? Here, both are at a very high level, both are at a low to medium level. I would say even medium. Yeah, I would say even medium level. Both are at a medium level. Your lows are here, right? So here the idea is coaching means really understanding what are the reasons for this medium competence and medium commitment, and you improve them on both areas, skill and will area. But the thing is, in uh, coaching and mentoring, when we talk from an organizational point of view, if we are helping people with skills, we call it more mentoring. And if you are helping people more with the will part, we call it coaching, right? Coaching is about talking to the inside, understanding the motivations. Mentoring is little bit more about skill area. But I think the word coaching has been used here for both mentoring and coaching as a label to give them skill and will both. Because here, what you're giving them more is skill and getting them to do things and they will learn. Here you're giving both. Here you're focusing more on support or more on the will part. Here you don't have to give any because they have both. Okay. This is the followers development part. Although we have arranged, right, the development as D1, D2, D3 and D4, a follower can go through this, but not necessarily through all these steps and not in this sequence. From a very theory perspective, you can look at this from a sequence point of view. Here is where you start, right? This is where you start. I mean, very enthusiastic, highly motivated, but we don't have the skills. That's why I said the example of a management trainee. Thinking that coming to the company, thinking I can change the world, right? Highly enthusiastic, highly motivated. I want to make this work. I want to become. Now, when I ask some of the guys who join us, they say, I want to become you in 5 years' time, right? That's the kind of motivation they have. But their skill levels are less. So we tell them, look, this is how you need to do. Then it comes to a D2 level, highly committed. Now it has become low commitment. You know why? I was disappointed. All the proposals I bring or try to do, I kind of sometimes fail. So it's learning as we go. Now my high enthusiasm has become a little bit low now, right? There are a lot of disappointments. And there is some competence. I have learned some things on the way, right? Now my competence improves, training, development on the job. There are some other disappointments. I am not fully there. There could be some amount of disappointments. And here, now it has gone to high competence and it has gone to high commitment. Now, if you have employees in this level, in all the situations, it's very nice. But what happens is they kind of vary along these. Here, right?
We cannot hear. We cannot hear. I think.
Okay. Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
now okay. Yes, now okay.
Okay. So what we have, disillusioned learner. I'm a little disappointed now because everything doesn't go the way I wanted, right? Disillusion. I'm not sure. The same enthusiasm that I had is gone. And reluctant contributor. I am very good in what I do, but there is some reluctance because my motivation levels are kind of variable, not at the same level. This is a peak performer who's someone very good. But these four labels, enthusiastic beginner, disillusioned learner, reluctant contributor, peak performer, might be one person in different situations. Why? Because the example I gave you earlier, you tell someone, let's develop this new product. I'm really enthusiastic and I have the skill to do it. I'm in a kind of a S4 position and in a D4 level. But after 2 weeks, you tell the same person, look, you have a team of 10 people. We are having a right sizing exercise. We need to bring your 10 people to 6 people in your team. Then he says, oh, I'm straight going into D2 because I don't know how to do this and I'm not motivated to do it. Or he comes into a D3 place, I know how to downsize, but I'm really not motivated to do so. So that's what we need to identify. So if you put both together, we can look at through these colors where we have S1 and D1 together, and S2 and D2, S3 and D3, and S4 and D4. Any questions, guys? Any reactions or any, what are your comments about this? Any reactions, comments?
Yeah, this can be a cycle, right? A person who is in the delegating part, I mean, in S4 section can be later on go back to S2, right?
Yes,
at some
that's
point.
the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, although we call it like a progression cycle, in reality, I don't think it happens that way. But broadly, a person joining into S1, S2, S3, S4 can go, but that person can go into these situations because what you mean by S1, S2, S3, S4 is for situation. So the whole idea is, as a leader, if you have to lead a team of people, or if you have to lead a person, you need to decide what is going to be my influence. And before you do that, see which situation are you faced with, right? And see, okay, do I have a S2 situation with this team, or do I have a S3 situation with this team? And okay, then what should I do? The whole idea is, don't misread and don't say this person is always a good person, therefore I put him to S4. No, have an open mind and say, I have a leadership challenge here, and I need to assess what? Performance readiness of the person. Is he willing and is he capable? So when I'm assessing his performance readiness, think, do I have a S1, S2, S3, S4 situation? That's what you need to assess. Yeah.
Okay.
Any more reactions? This is a very nice session. I wish we had the class to do this. We could have looked at different situations and how we respond to those situations. We have some very good class work to do here, but unfortunately we don't have that opportunity. But it's a very interesting model, very interesting model. Any other questions? How is attending classes from home?
Not that interesting.
Interesting.
Not that interesting.
Not very interesting. Class is better, right? Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
Absolutely, yes. Class is better.
Shaz is better, huh? But you get good
Boring.
food at home and very skilled. Huh? How many of you are in your pajamas? But little late in the day,
Me,
right? Yeah.
Hey,
Okay. So it's very nice.
Well,
not that nice though. Like little bit
Not
difficult to
that nice.
concentrate. Yeah,
Really?
it's not like having the one-on-one conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
can at least eat and drink while listening.
See? I hope you're not having a drink.
I think Lanka is having a drink, I guess.
I'm not going to open my video.
we don't want to see you anyway.
Okay. Any other feedback, guys? I'll take you to yeah. Please go ahead.
Nursery, regarding the task one, now that you said that you can hand it over with the task group, some of us I think have already started and done at least a bit of it or most of it regarding task one. Can we send it to you through email to have a clue of whether we are in the right track or?
Yeah, you can send it to me by email. I'll check it and I'll tell you. Yeah, whether it's okay. Yeah, you can do that for sure. Yeah. Now here is a situation where we bring every thing together, right? Everything together. Now, if you look at here, this comment is very important. Situational leadership is not something you do to people, but what you do with people. So the idea is, right, when you have a situation, right, when you have a situation, the thing that you need to do is you need to assess performance readiness. Performance readiness, right? That means leadership is about influence. Either I'm influencing one person or a group of people, a team, a group of people, or one person. Leadership is all about influence. And if you listen to Paul Hersey, what he said is, this influence means what? My behavior. Leaders' behavior. So the question is, should the leader take a directive behavior or a supportive behavior? And what's the combination between supportive and directive behavior I should take? Because my influence comes out as behavior, what I say, what I do, what I show. That influence. So once again, I'm saying leadership is about influence. I influence either one person or a group of persons, right? And my influence equals my behavior. My behavior. Now, my behavior is what I say, what I do, or what I show. And this behavior can be either directive or supportive, or a combination of this. So first of all, you need to identify in this person I'm leading, the followers, what should I look at? I need to look at their performance readiness. Performance readiness means their willingness and their capability. So depending on this, I can see, okay, do I have a S1 situation or a, what is the situation I'm faced with regard to my followers? So if the follower is in S1, S2, S3 or S4, I need to have my leadership style or my behavior. What is my behavior going to be? This is my behavior. This is my behavior. This is my behavior. So if I say I have a situation S1, my behavior is highly directive. We define what the roles are, what they should do, and both problem solving and decision making initiated by the leader, and most often one-way communication. You tell them what to do. But if I have a S2 situation where willingness and this capability is somewhat medium, I coach, highly directive, highly supportive. Uh, I hear the followers' suggestions, ideas, and opinions. There is two-way communication, but still control is with the leader. You decide, okay, I hear you, so shall we do this? If you have a S3 situation where that person's competency is very good, but the willingness is a bit of an issue, you have a supporting behavior. You don't tell them do 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You ask them, okay, what should we do? Active listening. Follower has the ability to do the task, but you need to push him a little bit, motivate that person. And if you have a S4 situation, your behavior is delegating. Here your behavior is supporting. What is delegating behavior? Don't tell them what to do. You don't have to massage them a lot. Leader discuss the problem with the followers, seek joint agreement, and do joint decision making, and allow them to run their show. Now, if you have a highly motivated, highly capable team doing very well, don't tell them, tell me next time when you go to the toilet, take permission and go. You don't have to tell them. Basically, you allow them to run their own show. So this is what I think leadership is all about, and how to bring these people together. Any questions or any comments here?
No.
Okay, so hope you're clear about this. I want to ask a question. Now, say you have two things here. One is you have low capability and low willingness, right? Let me work on this again. Okay. So as I said, according to Hersey Blanchard, right? According to Hersey Blanchard, again, I'm saying leadership, right? Leadership equals what? Influence. right? Leadership equals influence. Now, in this situation, who influences? Who influences? This is done by the leader. This is done by the leader. Influencing is done by the leader. So, influence of the leader comes as the leader's what? Behavior. So what should I do? How should I behave? Should I behave with a more directive approach, or should I behave with a more supportive approach? Supportive approach. Now this, whether I'm having a more directive approach or a supportive approach, right? My behavior depends on what? This depends on the follower. Here are the followers. Now the followers can be an individual, or followers can be a group of people or a team, right? An individual or a group of people. Now these followers, what could be the situations they are in? So followers can be in different situations. What are these situations that the followers can be in? The follower situation can be based on two things. What are those two things? Their skill level, right? And their motivation level. So this is what we say, their capability. Their capability can be different, and their motivation, or what we call willingness, can be different. So based on this, we are saying there can be situation 1, situation 2, situation 3, and situation 4. Now, just mind you, although we call it situation 1, 2, 3, and 4, even in this situation 1, this point to this point, things can be different. And here, somebody's here versus someone's here, your reaction can be different. Somebody being here versus somebody being here, situation can be different. So, but I want you to understand this one, right? Understand this one, where how we behave depends on this situation. And what type of behavior are we looking at? So what are the types of behavior we have here? We have directive behavior, we have coaching behavior, we have supporting behavior, and we have delegating behavior. So these are with the leader. These are with the leader. How he looks at the followers. And followers can be in these situations. Are you clear about this? Any questions about this? Any questions? Okay, then I'm going to move forward. I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to ask you to think about these things: skill and motivation, capability levels and willingness. Capability levels and willingness. how do you improve somebody's capability levels? How do you improve? How do you improve capability levels? Through training and development. Uh, Mainly through training and development. You have to give them the skills. You have to impart the skills, right? You have to improve their skills. You can coach, you can train them. Basically, you need to give the skills. How do you improve their will? How do you work on somebody's will? Here is where you need to motivate people, and that's where we are looking at motivation theories. We are looking at 3 motivation theories: Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Hertzberg two-factor theory, and Room's theory of motivation. So we'll look at it briefly. This Abraham Maslow, right, who's here, came up with this pyramid. His main thing was people, he said people move from one level to the other and go up the pyramid. And they start with the most basic needs. And if the basic needs are fulfilled, they go to the next one. And these things will motivate them again. Once these are filled, their motivation, they can be motivated by these. And when these are filled, that person will go here, and then we need to work on these to motivate. And finally, the person will go here and he'll be motivated with these stuff. Now, there are so many criticisms about this. But to date, this model is somewhat valid. If you look at some of the people that we have in companies, they may be motivated by these basic factors and belongingness and sometimes esteem. So very important to find out what motivates people. That's where the understanding about self and understanding about others. You do a values exercise, you do a mask exercise and see, okay, what are their hidden fears? How do they get motivated? What is the space they are currently in? That will really help you in your coaching and supporting areas. Especially in a S2 and a S3 situation, you need to have very good understanding if you need to support them. Then if you look at need theories, Hertzberg two-factor theory, Hertzberg says people are, he says it's like 0.0. Hygiene factors are here, motivators are here. If hygiene factors are absent, people will get demotivated. And if motivators are there, they will get highly motivated. But these things will never motivate people. This will only bring them to ground zero. But in the absence of this, there'll be demotivation. So he said, have all these hygiene factors. Have all these hygiene factors present. And then try and see, can you work on some of these motivation factors? So the lesson here is, make sure these are not present, or make sure these are all working well, hygiene factors. And then try and select what are these motivators and then work on them to motivate the people. That's one way of getting their commitment high. Look at this: achievement, recognition. That's why we have rewards and recognition programs in companies. Why? We want to motivate people. right? Uh, Personal growth, career growth. These are ways of motivating people in companies so that you can, as a leader, you can support, have a supportive behavior. This is a cognitive theory, Room's expectancy theory. Uh, this is an assumption that people work with. I'll tell you what that assumption is. I want to put some effort, and I believe my effort will result in some performance. If you don't believe that my effort will result in performance, you will not put effort. But people will put effort if they believe it will bring some acceptable performance. And then they believe some acceptable performance will bring me rewards. If people think my performance will not be rewarded, they will not go through with this performance, right? So these connections are very important. This is what people expect. Effort will result in performance, performance will result in a reward. Now this reward can be anything, can be money, can be recognition, can be a pat on your shoulder, can be a situation of feeling good, any of this, that reward. And this performance is what is acceptable performance in a company, right? So the valence or the outcome, right? How big this valence is, people will go through this process. So your job is to put the right rewards, put the right performance standards, and directing the efforts towards that, right? So a few motivation theories here, but my main thing would be this one. Any reactions, guys? Any questions? Any comments? Any reactions? I just want to check with everyone. Did you kind of understand what we wrote here? Here is the leader, here is the follower, and how this whole thing comes together. And identifying their performance readiness means assessing this is what we call identifying their performance readiness, their willingness and their capability. So a leader, before you influence, you should be able to understand the performance readiness. Then only you can decide, okay, how do I behave? How do I behave in this situation? Should I take a more directive approach or should I take a more supportive approach? Yes. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Others?
All good. Yes, all good.
Okay. Any comments about the Zoom session? Any way that we can improve? Any way we can improve?
This is could be the circumstances happening right now
Yes.
still without stopping it right away and postponing it. This is something.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can start the lectures next week.
Yes, hopefully. Hopefully, and I shared the handout. So it's like giving handouts in class. I sent it to all of you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think, but the whole issue is we don't know what will happen. Now tomorrow they have declared a holiday, and
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's to tell people we are going for a lockdown for longer period, and so people are not there in offices to react to it. But because I think people have been so irresponsible coming from Italy and going around and spreading the virus. So this might be the case. We don't know yet. But if things are okay, we are really happy to start classes next week.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll do is, again, I'm saying I'll put out a new communication about how to get ready for the assessment. I think more clarity is needed. So
Okay.
ignore what we gave you last week. I'll put something new for the assessment.
Okay. When
You
can
mean
we
the-
have just
Yes, ask me.
No, the current assessment is valid, right? Only the
Yeah,
deadline has
current
been shifted.
assessment is valid. I'll give a more clearer set of instructions
Yeah.
to what I gave last week. Yeah, so the idea is, I mean, you can use last week's one, but I'll give you further clear step-by-step guidelines how to do it.
Okay.
But we can share whatever is